Hi, I'm Jenny, and I am going to start posting reviews of books. And the first one to start with is It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis, because I feel like it is a very valid book right now, given the context and uh, the storyline of the book compared to what's going on in America and around the world. I'm not really going to give my opinions about politics or anything, but you may conclusions or connections between different characters and real life people in the world today. Uh, but this book uh, is extremely dry and dense. It's like eating a um, one of those English Christmas fruitcakes. It's extremely dry and dense, but it's still good for you. So you kind of have to read it and get through it. And the detail, like he goes from like extensive detail to pages where it's just kind of like nothing happens, and it's just conversations between two people that are seemingly don't have anything to do with the storyline, but um, his knowledge of history and his education, he puts in so much detail that is, I think it's valuable to review it and to learn it. And he also, this book is fiction, but he peppers in like real life facts, real life characters of the time. The book is set in 1936, and um, it's basically, the concept of the book is it America elects a fascist president. Um, so chapter one is also super boring, but you kind of have to get through it because it sets the tone for the book. And I'm just going to start off with chapter two. Chapter two describes the location of the novel setting, which is in Vermont. Um, Vermont is it's set in Fort Beulah, Vermont, um, and here's his description. It's at the beginning of chapter two. Fort Beulah was a comfortable village of old red brick and old granite workshops and houses of white clapboards or gray shingles, with a few smug little modern bungalows, yellow or seal brown. There was a hut. Sorry, there was but little manufacturing, a small woolen mill, a sash and door factory, a pump works. The granite, which was its chief produce, came from quarries 4 miles away. In Fort Beulah itself were only the offices, all the money, the meager shacks of the most of the quarry workers. It was a town of perhaps 10,000 souls, inhabiting about 20,000 bodies. The proportion of soul possession may be too high. That's another thing about Sinclair Lewis. He was a little pretentious because he was so well educated. So he kind of looks at the proletariat uh, the as not really being full people. Um, but the book starts out at it's a Rotary Club dinner, and it's kind of like a fundraiser of the upper class people in Fort Beulah, Vermont. And the people at this that are in this Rotary Club include the Daughters of the American Revolution, which was a large part of the group. So they basically brought their husbands, and then there's some other people that were just members of the club that came. And there was two main speakers. The first one was the a general, um, and his name was Brigadier General Herbert Y. Edgeways, retired. And he gave angry speeches of peace through defense. And then the second one was Mrs. Adelaide Tarr Gimmich. And it says this describes what she looks like. Um, she was a short, plump, and pert of nose. Her luxuriant gray hair, she was 60 now, just the age of the sarcastic editor, Doremus Jessup, who is he's the main character in the book. So he's the narrator, basically, of most of the book. Or everything is seen through, most of the book is seen through his eyes. Um, could could be seen below her youthful floppy leghorn hat. She wore a silk print dress with an enormous string of crystal beads, and pinned above her ripe bosom was an orchid among lilies of the valley. She was full of friendliness toward all the men present. She wriggled at them, she cuddled at them, as in a voice full of flute sounds and chocolate sauce. She poured out her oration, "How you boys can help us girls." So basically, she is childless. She's um, a rich old maid, and she's active in a whole bunch of different groups, like political groups. Like she did this, she did a fundraiser and donated dominoes to the soldiers on the front lines in World War I, and she 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 was known as the Unkies girl because during the Great War she had advocated calling our boys the Unkies. She hadn't merely given them dominoes. Indeed, her first notion had been far more imaginative. She wanted to send every soldier at the front a canary in a cage. Think what it would have meant to them in way of companionship and inducing memories of home and mother, a dear little canary. So she's out of touch with reality so much, but she's also anti-suffrage for women, and she is she was pro-war. So basically she's trying to start a war. So after the general speaks his like speech where he's angry but he really says nothing, she she spoke back to him, and she said she said where is it? I noted it. She said, "You've been telling us about how to secure peace. But come on now, General. Just among us Rotarians and Rotary Anns, fess up. With your great experience, don't you honest, cross your heart, think that perhaps, just maybe, when a country has gone money mad, like all our labor unions and workmen, with their propaganda to hoist income taxes, so that the thrifty and industrious have to pay for the shiftless ne'er-do-wells, then maybe, to save their lazy souls and get some iron into them, a war may be a good thing. Come on now, tell your real middle name, Mong General." So Mong General, when she says that, she's basically saying war. I looked it up. It's kind of a reference to warmonger. And then he comes back and gives another angry speech where he's like, "Okay, I really do want a war." And then there's this Lorinda Pike, who's also a member of the club, but she is against everything that Mrs. Gimmich is for. So she basically heckles her and laughs at her. And then Doremus Jessup, he's like sarcastic because he agrees with Lorinda Pike, and he's like, you need to apologize to everyone for interrupting them because they were the speakers of the night. So Lorinda, at the end of the dinner, she goes, "Oh yes, I do apologize, General. Thank you for your revelatory speech." And basically she was being sarcastic, but he believed her, so he it says he raised his plump hand with a Masonic ring as well as a West Point ring on the sausage-shaped fingers. He bowed like a Galahad or head waiter. He shouted with the parade ground maleness, not at all, madam. We all we old campaigners never mind a healthy scrap. Glad when anybody's interested in our fool ideas to go and get sore at us." And everyone laughed and sweetness reigned. So then the dinner was just it it ended, and then there was an after party. The after party is in chapter 2, but uh that's that's kind of what I wanted to get through today is just chapter 1, where we have Mrs. Gimmich, Lorinda Pike, Doremus Jessup, the General. There's a couple other characters in there, but they're they're people that Doremus has conversations with later in the book or throughout the book. But um, basically, I'm drawing a tie between Mrs. Gimmich and Anna Pavlovich from War and Peace, because at the beginning of that book there was also a similar, like, really high upper class dinner, and Anna Pavlovich is she's trying to get her nephew out of the military, but she's also advocating for war. So it just seems like there's always an old lady that's kind of like trying to light the fire, draw your conclusions. But that's chapter 1, and I think that's enough pain for today. Thank you.